Hey YouTubers, Deering Dave. I have a couple of tractors out here I wanted to show you. Um, a lot of people ask me what's the difference between a Farmall Regular and a Farmall F-20. I've got two of them sitting right here, so we're going to look at both of them and I'll show you the differences and the similarities in both tractors so you can identify them easier if you're out in the field or see one from the road or whatever. So here we go. Okay, this is a 1931 Farmall Regular. Okay, Farmall Regulars, or it's called just original Farmalls, were made from 1923 to 1931. Okay, this is one of the last tractors of the run. The Farmall Regular now is being celebrated this year is 100 years. Farmall was born, like I said, 1923, and this is the 100th anniversary for Farmall and the Farmall name. So let's go walk around this tractor and I'll show you some differences. One of the main ones I think especially you can see from the road is the fuel tank. The fuel tank on this tractor is just one tank. Okay, there's nothing in it. There might be a baffle or something in it, but it's basically a big void, and it's got a screw-in cap. Now, the later styles, maybe 30. This is not the original tank, but this could have a bayonet style cap on it. But this has the screw-in cap, and it has the screw-in starter gas tank. So the starter gas tank was only on the Farmall Regulars. It bolted to the rear support on the back behind the gas tank. This held gasoline. This is 3/4 gallon. You put gasoline in here, and it's piped into underneath. You switched it. You started the tractor on gasoline. Once it got hot, you shut the valve off right here, shut the gas off, and turn this one on simultaneously, and then you would run the tractor on kerosene. So this would be the kerosene tank. Okay. On the 20, the gas tank, I wanted to show you too. This gas tank has a reinforcement ring on it, whereas the Regular does not. It's a little bit different shaped. It's a little bit higher. This one has a bayonet style. You push it in and turn it. Bayonet means it's got the two prongs on it. You put it down in it and turn it, and it's just a 90-degree, and it holds. That's bayonet style. The screw-in style is on the Farmall Regular. Now, this tractor does have a starter gas tank in it also, but this one's pretty rough. It's rusted out. There's a little tank that's soldered right here, and it's integrated into this tank. Okay, so you start this tractor with you put the gasoline in here, and a little tank is inside the big tank. And then you turn this is pretty rough, but you turn the valve on here, turn the fuel on, and it would go down to the carburetor. Start the tractor, get it hot. Then you shut this one off, and then you shut this one back on, and then you would have kerosene coming out of this tank. So that's the gas tank differences on the two tractors. The other big one is the steering. So if you're looking at a Farmall Regular, this is what you're looking at. The Farmall Regular has open gears. Okay, there's a little gear, there's a big gear, and then there's a beveled gear underneath here that runs the rack. And this rack is bolted to the top and goes obviously down to the pedestal, down to the wheels. So the steering on a Farmall Regular looks like this. Now, in 32, they went to what's called a duckbill. Because, well, I'm sorry. in 31, obviously this is the last tractor made in 31 for Farmall Regular. When they went to the F-20, they went to a duckbill tractor. Now, I do not have a duckbill, but it's basically, well, I want to go back here to this one. It's basically just a cover goes over top of this. It kind of looks like a duckbill. That's where they get the name. It's all covered. It's still pretty premature, pretty prehistoric, but they wanted to cover it because we were getting dirt in these gears and wearing the steering out. And then you get lots of flop going. See how there's lots of slop in this tractor. That's what happens is the dirt gets in here from the running around disking or field work. Dirt gets in mixed with the grease, and then it wears out this gear. So they had to cover it. So that's what they did with the F-20. Now the F-20, after they went to the duckbill, they upgraded it again. This is a worm gear steering. There's a worm gear in here, right behind this plug. Steering comes down here, and then this is a worm gear that fits in here. And this worm gear runs on an eccentric gear right here. Now, mid-1930s, you can tell an F-20 because this is smooth, okay? So after they went to this style, they were realizing that, now they protected the gears, but these covers were breaking. The bolts that were screwing up from the bottom here, they were, I don't know if they were tightening them too hard or what, but they were stripping them out. This one's got a plug. You could put oil in here to keep the gears lubricated, and there's also a grease fitting to keep them lubricated also. So this would be mid 1930s style F-20, and then they went to a castellated steering box. So what I mean by that is it's a castle. It's got the bolts are there's like a sheath that goes around them, comes up here, and there's a bolt that goes down clear through. So you had the bolts they didn't bolt. There wasn't a blind hole that screwed up in, but it went all the way up to the top, and then you had the nut on top. So it was sandwiched, and it kind of resembled a crown. So it's got what they call castellated. So it's got ridges in here where you see the bolts going through. So that's the biggest thing on the steering. So there was 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3. There's 4 different styles of steerings, whereas almost all the Farmall Regulars were the open gear. And then they had 3 different styles for the F-20. So that's the steering. Now, the other thing that's different is the air cleaner. 23 to 27 or 28, they had what's called a Vortox air cleaner. And it'll say right on here, Vortox air cleaner. Those were on the older style Farmall Regulars. The 30 and 31s, International Harvester bought their air cleaners from Donaldson. So they went to the Vortox to the Donaldson. It says International right on the tag here, but these are actually our Donaldson air cleaners that International Harvester bought from Donaldson. So the air cleaner is another difference, and you would find this style too on a lot of the newer style F-20s, because they quit using the Vortox, like I said, in the late run of these Farmall Regulars. Another difference would be is the manifold. As you can see in a Farmall Regular, the manifold looks like this. It's got the ports on it, and this is what they call a side draft carburetor. It bolts to the side of your manifold, and this is brass. This is an ensign carburetor. The real early Farmall Regulars had 2 bolts bolting the carburetor to the manifold, and I think 24 or 25 they went to the 3 bolt style. So you have 1, 2, 3. So now you have 3 bolts that bolts onto the manifold. But pretty much all of the Farmall Regulars had this brass ensign carburetor on it with this side draft manifold. Now this is a kerosene manifold because, you know, it was integrated, whereas the gasoline was preheated right inside here, and then the heat from the exhaust passed over it, preheated the fuel, so you could burn kerosene in the tractor. But that's the difference between there. Now, we don't have a manifold on here on this tractor. I have another manifold in the shop. I'm not going to run in and show you it right now, but the manifolds on the F-20s are, the exhaust went up through the hood, okay? And the carburetors were down here, and they were like a, not magnesium, but they were composite carburetor, and they were updraft, so they bolted to the bottom of your manifold. And the manifolds usually were kerosene, so it had a little lever on it you could flip back and forth to, you know, preheat the fuel. A lot of these are gone now. Very hard to find a nice kerosene manifold that fits on these with the upstyle, you know, exhaust stack. Most of them now are gasoline exhaust manifolds, which are still updraft, but they don't have they're not integrated with the heat. So you've got a manifold on the regular that looks like this, where it's got the exhaust coming out the side. Here's the little thing. The really old Farmalls had an exhaust that came up, and it was they had a U-shape exhaust, and it came straight up, and then they had a exhaust up the side, but they decided just to keep it and exit it right here later on, and this is the newer style exhaust. They put this pan here too. There's a little pan above the exhaust so that the gasoline, the float overfills, and there's too much gas in the carburetor, and it drips out the carburetor. It won't drip onto the exhaust and backfire and cause a fire. I have a 1020 that did that. It has a side draft carburetor, and it dripped. The guy was running it down the hill, and it backfired, and it lit the whole thing up, blew up the gas tank, and it was a mess. So that's why this little pan is under the carburetor, and you should have a pan under yours if you have a regular, to keep as a safety feature. Let's see, Farmall Regular. What else? The steering, the brackets, the wheels. Most Farmall Regulars have these smooth hubs. There's no ridge here on these wheels. What happens? They were breaking them. The spokes were snapping, these cast hubs. So the newer style ones have a little ridge, a reinforcement ridge that went around the outside. So you can tell there's a little lip that goes around here. That's the newer style steel wheels. This is the older style steel wheels. Most of the Farmall Regulars had handbrakes. You can see the handbrake here. And once in a while, they'd put a handbrake on the other side, but mostly you stop the tractor with the left-hand brake. The right-hand brake was used for in the steering when you steered the tractor right or left. It would help you, spin around and start the next row. And that's what the cables are for. This would actuate the brake on the left side. When you turn the steering wheel all the way to the left, it would lock this wheel up, and then you turn the steering to the right. It'd pull the cable over there, and it would lock the right wheel up. So your F-20s, the later style, a lot of them went to foot brakes. This one, because it's kind of mid-30s, it does have a handbrake, as you can see. There's some other things on the F-20s too that were different than the Farmall Regulars. They had a lot of attachments and a lot of accessories that you could buy for the F-20 because there were so many of them out there. This one has the deluxe seat on it. I haven't seen too many of these. This one's in pretty rough shape, but they had all kinds of different seat configurations on the F-20s. But I wanted to show you the axle. Now, this is a Farmall Regular narrow tread. So this tractor's kind of rare because you can tell it's a narrow tread because you can just barely fit the belt between the pulley and the final drive. That means it's a narrow tread. If you've got 5 or 6 inches between the pulley and the final drive, it's a wide tread. Okay, that's how you tell the difference. All your Farmall Regulars, this housing on the top was smooth. From here all the way up to the seat bracket, this is all smooth. Okay, this is what the Farmall Regular looked like. Some of the early F-20s had the Farmall Regular rear end, but most of your F-20s had this step right here and cast into the axle, so you could put your foot here, and your foot sliding down the side. You could rest your foot there, and it's kind of like a foot pedal, place to rest your foot. So that was definitely an F-20 thing, and mostly only what do you say, inclusive, or no? It was only in the F-20s. So there's all kinds of different rear wheels setups that were on these tractors. This one happens to be an inset narrow. You can see how these spokes are slanted in order to get the wheel closer inside to make the rear end narrower. And these ones had an over tire that went over top of the rim that had the spade lugs on it. There was all kinds of different tractions. There was angle iron lugs that went at an angle. There were open face skeleton wheels. They had all kinds of choices for rear wheels. So you'll see all kinds of stuff. This one's not very common. Like I said, as you can see from the side profile, the hub sticks out. So this is really a really narrow tractor wheel, and that's the reason I'm taking it off of this tractor and we're going to put it on that one. So oh, here's that steel wheel I was talking about. This one does have it. See how the rim goes around here, that reinforcement rim? These were pretty much all on the F-20s. This is basically an F-20 wheel. There's speculation on how early they went, and that they used these, but it was right around when they started building the F-20s. So most of the F-20s had these wheels on them, with the rib on it. Like I said, that one, the other one does not. There was a choice of round spoke wheels for the F-20. French and Hecht made a choice that you could put the tractors on rubber, and that's what this one wheel I found. I put it on just so I could roll it around because the other wheels were totally wasted. But this is a rubber tire on the front wheel. Now you could put a rubber tire on the back, but you have to have, here's the brake drum. You have to have a wheel if you're going to put a rubber tire on it. A lot of them had to clear this brake drum, so you almost had to have a 28 or 32-inch rear wheel tire and rim to make these fit on these tractors. And when you did that, it jacked the rear end of the tractor up, and they had to compensate for that. So if you ever look at this tractor here, there's an extension. See the greasy part there, but next to the wheel, right here. This is an extension. This extension fits down from here, and it gives it another 5 or 6 inches, so it doesn't look like the tractor is leaning forward. It evens it out. So this tractor probably had high rear rubber tires on it, but like I said, I found it with the steel on it. That's pretty much it. There's a bunch of other accessories to go on these tractors. You can have a multiple speed governor. Well, most of these F-20s had this, but some of the Farmall Regulars, you could take some of these attachments off the F-20 and put them on the Farmall Regular because they would fit right up. Here's attachment for the the multiple variable speed governor, and the linkage that goes to there. A lot of your old Farmall regulators did not have a oil filter. I think 27 or 28 they started using an oil filter on the Farmall regulators. This one obviously has one because it's a 31. So, this F-20 has one also. Almost all the F-20s have. In fact, all the F-20s have oil filters on them. This is not the original mag. This is a Waco mag. The Farmall regulators almost always used Dixie Splitdorf magnetos. It was an archaic looking magneto that had a bunch of brass plates on it, and they found out it was very susceptible to moisture. So International Harvester came up with a magneto that was sealed, and they called it the E4A, and they used the E4A from 28 or 29 up to 32, and then they upgraded to an F4 magneto. This is not an F4 magneto. This, I believe, is an Eisman mag. I left it on there because it's a good mag and it's nice and hot. I didn't want to mess with it. Its tractor starts up really good, so I left this Eisman on it. It's like I said, it's not factory. They did have an expensive choice to put on here, and that was the Robert Bosch ZU4. I very rarely saw any of those because they're so rare and expensive that the farmers just normally had an F4 or an E4A to put on them. So, the belt, the head, yeah, the head, a lot of the engine parts will interchange. The heads will interchange. Belt pulleys, the flat belt, the governor, a lot of that stuff interchanges with the F-20 and Farmall Regular, except the F-20 was a little more horsepower than the Farmall Regular because they, give the motor a little bit more oomph. But the motor is the same, basically bore and stroke and everything that the F-20 is. So you could swap these motors pretty easily. The really early Farmall regulators had a multiple clutch disc. I think there were 4 or 5 clutch discs in here. They went to a single plate disc, Rockwell disc clutch in 29 or 30. They went to single plate disc, but the old ones, I think this one's a single plate, and that one would be a single plate too because that's a 35. So. But the really old ones had multiple clutches in them. The Farmall regular always had a 3-speed transmission, so you could go 1, 2, 3, reverse. So it was this 3-speed transmission on the Farmall regular. All the F-20s went to a 4-speed. And you can see, I'll go around the other side. You can see the difference on the top loader of the shifter. Well, barely. It's kind of rusted. But this is a 4-speed transmission, okay? International Harvester went to 4-speed transmission. The tractors they're starting to build a lot of tractors with rubber tires on them. So they want the tractor to go faster, so they give it a high speed, a fast 4th gear in it. There's the 4th gear right there. That's 4. Otherwise, the Farmall regulators, all of them had 3 speeds. You could interchange them. You can swap them back and forth. So if you got one, it's quite possible, but I doubt it was done at the factory. So 3-speed transmission. They all had power takeoff. They all shifted the same. They all had steering brakes. Radiators were, I think the radiators are all the same. You could swap going back and forth to each model. All the Farmall regulators had cast iron wheels. All the Farmall regulators had cast steel steering wheels on. They're all cast. Composite steering wheels weren't available until I think it was 34, 35. Maybe even 36. You started seeing the composite, automobile style steering wheels with the black composite on for the hand, but the early ones all had cast iron steering wheels. The Farmall Regular also had different controls for the spark and the throttle. My 27 has a flat. This part is flat, and these it's another flat part that rubs against it, so it's friction. These are beveled. This is actually hollow. This thing fits in here, and it slides up and down on the inside that slot, and then it's spring loaded, so it gives it tension. But the old regulars had I think just a little bit of a gasket or something in between these two flat spots in order to keep it resistance. This is the newer style then of linkage, and this one of course is missing the other lever for the throttle, because they put the variable speed governor on this tractor. See how it's gone, back here. It's better control. It's got a better ratchet. You can set the speed better. It's a better deal. But it was an add-on later because all the earlier ones weren't like that. Whereas the F-20s were also same linkage. They were almost all variable speed governors. The ones that didn't have it was just a silver knob coming out here, and you ran over here when you were doing belt work. You could twist this and adjust the sensitivity of the governor through this turn hole. Whereas this one, it bolts in, it's on a lever, and it's controlled at the operator's station. Starter gas tanks, clutch, transmission, rear end. And here's the business end of the Farmall Regular. This is a narrow tread. Another way you can tell a narrow tread is this is nice and straight all the way across. This drawbar, there's no lips in it. This one over here is a wide tread, and the wide tread had a different drawbar on it. You can see this little bulge on the corner. See that bulge? That's a wide tread. Okay. Now, most of your F-20s were narrow treads. After they got into 34, 35, the crops got smaller. Farmers were calling or demanding machines that had narrower rear ends in them, and a lot of F-20s had, narrow rear ends on them. The Farmall Regulars did not. They're very hard to find with a narrow rear end in them. I have a fairway, a regular fairway, which is the industrial commercial model, and it has a narrow rear end in it because it accommodated the wider wheels. But most of your narrower rear ends in these tractors were put on for smaller crops, smaller corn rows, maybe pickle farming, kind of weird crops. So that's pretty much it. The old cores that were in these tractors were, especially in the 20s and the Farmall Regulars, were round. A lot of them have been replaced by the skinny cores. But most of the older ones had the round shaped holes in them, or round shaped tubes, whereas this is a modern style. I think that's pretty much it. The differences between the two. The oil pans all had 3 petcocks on them to check for oil, checking the oil level. Rear ends were the PTOs were all pretty much the same. Some of them had rear extensions on them. Some didn't. The drawbar is adjustable. You can run this up and down. You can see there's different settings on the rear for height. This one had, I think it had a hillside hitch. It was another piece of iron that came up with a handle on it, and you could, from the operator's seat, you could run it back and forth and swing the drawbar back and forth in order to accommodate for, slanted fields where your implement was, wanting to track lower. You could compensate by, running this up so that it would, so the tractor would track properly. That's pretty much it. If there's anything I didn't mention or forgot to mention, go ahead and put it in the comments. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention too that my 27 regular had Alamite fittings, what they call Alamite Zerk, where the fitting, this fitting here was coned. It came up and it was kind of a sharper entry, and I think they called it an Alamite Zerk, whereas this one is just a Zerk fitting, where it's got the ball on the end of it, so that you could, when you put the grease fitting on, it would couple onto there. They started going with these in 28, I think. 1928, they started going with the round fittings, newer style grease fittings. Though all these front ends are the same. This is the plow guide. This is the, no, I'm sorry, this is the plow guide. This is the cultivator gang shift. Those are all pretty much the same. Yeah, that's, oh, the tag, you can tell the serial, if you still have the tag on your tractor, the tag is right here on the toolbox, and you can run your serial numbers to the book from off of this plate, or on the Farmall Regular, the serial number was right here. See? And this one's 125519N for a narrow tread. So the serial number's here and on the toolbox. There's one on the block back here behind the governor shaft, but they don't coincide. They're not exact. They may be, they may be a couple hundred off, because I think they were pulling engines off for power units, and it messed with the serial numbers. So you can't go by the engine number. You have to go by the frame rail. The F-20 serial number is, it's on the frame rail, but it's not in the same place as the Farmall Regular. It's in the middle. It's in the middle of the frame rail. You know what? This tractor's set outside for so long. It's usually right about, I can't remember if it's in the passenger side or the driver's side. Yeah, here it is. It's FA 25380. So 2500 or 25,000. That's kind of a lowish number. So it indicates that it's mid to early 30s. So, but that's where your serial number is on the F-20. Would be on the left side, whereas the Farmall Regular is on the right side in front of the radiator. That's pretty much it. The heads are the same. You had the valve cover with the oilers on top of it, and you could prime the cups with gasoline. The taller ones are for gasoline. The shorter ones with the flip tops are for oil, and you had to oil them, I think, daily. And I just put 1030 in mine. So, that's pretty much it. Like I said, if there's anybody's got anything different, or if I missed anything or whatever, go ahead and send those in the comments. And we'll, I'll try to answer them as best I can, or maybe someone else will have some sort of an idea. Okay, that wraps it up for the differences between the F-20 and the Farmall Regular. Thanks for watching. Just like and subscribe. I've got all kinds of tractor videos coming out eventually. I've got repair videos, homesteading videos, all kinds of stuff. So, you know, subscribe, like, and stay tuned, and we'll get you on the flip-flop.